Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya. Gopi Jana Vallabha Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Oh Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Oh Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Shri Radha Madhava ki, Shri Prabhupada ki. Okay, Hare Krishna. Oh, what a big audience. Now, in the kirtan, you are all sweating. Now I will be the one who's sweating. So, we will have a short Bhagavatam lecture on the 4th canto, chapter number 8, the story of Dhruva Maharaj, entitled Dhruva Leaves Home. Verse number 6 starts with Athata Kirtaya. Yes. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narotamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nastapreshva Badrishu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Okay, let's try this. Athata Kirtaye Vamshan. Athata Kirtaye Vamsham. Punya Kirti Kurudvaha. Punya Kirti Kurudvaha. Swayambho Vasyapi Manur. Swayambho Vasyapi Manur. Harir Amsham Shajanmana. Harir Amsham Shajanmana. Atata Kirtaye Vamsham. Punya Kirte Kurudvaha. Svayambhuvasyapi manor Harir Amsham Shajanmana. Brian? Somebody can chant? Brian? Can I have my water from here? Punya kirte kurudvaha Svayambhuvasyapi manor Harir Amsham Shajanmana. Tata kirtaye vamsham Punya kirte kurudvaha Svayambhuvasyapi manor Harir Amsham Shajanmana. Aktata kirtaye vamsham Punya kirte kurudvaha Svayambhuvasyapi manor Harir Amsham Shajanmanaha. Atata kirtaye vamsham Punya kirte kurudvaha Svayambhuvasyapi manor Harir Amsham Shajanmanaha. Ata. Now. Sorry, is there somebody who doesn't speak English? No. Otherwise we have a German book. Okay. Ata. Hereafter. Kirtaye. I shall describe. Vamsham. Dynasty. Punya kirte. Celebrated for virtuous activities. Kuru Udvaha, or best of the Kurus. Svayambhuvasya, of Svayambhuva. Api, even. Mano, of the Manu. Hare, of the personality of Godhead. Amsha, plenary expansion. Amsha, part of. Janmanaha, born of. So Amsha means part, and Amsha would mean part of the part, or part of the plenary expansion. Okay, translation and purport by His Divine Loving Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Maitreya continued, O best of the Kuru dynasty, I shall now describe before you the descendants of Swayambhuva Manu, who was born of part of a plenary expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport. Lord Brahma is a powerful expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although Brahma is Jiva Tattva, he is empowered by the Lord, and therefore he is considered a plenary expansion of the Supreme Godhead. Sometimes it happens that when there is no suitable living being to be empowered to act as Brahma, the Supreme Lord himself appears as Brahma. Brahma is the plenary expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and Swayambhuva Manu was the direct son of Brahma. The great sage Maitreya is now going to explain about the descendants of this Manu, all of whom are widely celebrated for their pious activities. Before speaking of these pious descendants, Maitreya has already described the descendants of impious activities, representing anger, envy, unpalatable speech, quarrel, fear, and death. Purposely, therefore, he is next relating the history of the life of Dhruva Maharaj, the most pious king within this universe. For those of you who are not here, Prabhupada is mentioning the last 5 verses and precisely the last 3 verses who were talking about these impious descendants of Swayambhuva Manu when falsity married irreligion. I don't know who's the male and who's the female, probably irreligion is the male. And they got these impious descendants like anger, envy, and so on. And now Maitreya Muni is describing the pious descendants. Okay. Om Ajnanatirmandasya Jnananjana Chakshur Umritam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manubhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Sarasvati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paskatyadi Shatarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare There's also a nice prayer from the Bhagavatam. The next chapter, prayers by Dhruva Maharaj, when he, spoiler alert, when he meets the Lord. And after he meets the Lord, the first prayer, which is Dhruva Maharaj offering Lord Vishnu, goes as follows, dear devotees. Yonta pravishya vacham imam prasuptam sanjivayati akila shakti dhara svadhamna ananyascha hassa charana svarangat vadadin pranan namo bhagavate purushaya tubhyam. Shri Shri Prabhu Lakshmi Shingale Bhagavan Ki. So after Dhruva met the Lord, he said, and of course the Lord gave him the intelligence to say this beautiful prayer, "O my dear Lord, you are all-powerful. After entering within me, you have enlivened all my sleeping senses, my hands, legs, ears, touch sensation, life force, and especially my power of speech. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto you." So in the same way, we can offer our obeisances unto the Lord to give us the power of speech, say something significant about this verse. O best of the Kuru dynasty, I shall now describe before you the descendants of Swayambhuva Manu, who was born of a part of a plenary expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna, first of all, good morning, welcome everybody. Nice to see so many guests. Like yesterday was mentioned, it seems like the festival already started, Christmas festival, I guess, and then afterwards Sankirtan festival. And today in this verse, we are having the first verse talking or coming into the story of Dhruva Maharaj. The previous chapters, until now, the first 7 chapters, Maitreya Muni was explaining to Vidura, after he left the palace of Hastinapur, the story of Sati Devi, where Vidura was inquiring what happened, how come that this great personality has burned herself. And Maitreya Muni explains this story, and the one afterwards is coming, is being explained the descendants of Swayambhuva Manu. So Swayambhuva Manu had a son called Uttampad. And Uttampad had 2 wives, Suruchi and Suniti. And he favored one over the other. Suruchi was the more beautiful. Like, I think the meaning of the word Suruchi is beautiful, if somebody can confirm, but I'm almost sure. And Suniti means actually well behavior, or how to say this, manner, conduct behavior and manners. So Suniti had her son Dhruva Maharaj, who was the most celebrated, the most pious king within this universe. And why Srila Prabhupada is saying the most pious king within this universe? I mean, when I read this, somebody thought I thought it's Yudhishthir, the most pious king, but maybe Prabhupada is referring because Dhruva Maharaj is still ruling within the universe. So anyway, Dhruva Maharaj was most pious due to his purity mainly. And that is the first and foremost quality of a leader. So how Dhruva Maharaj came to this point, when we're starting here the story of a 5-year-old boy. I mean, the next half an hour can go on really upon your desire, how we continue. Just quick question. How many here knows already the story of Dhruva Maharaj? Like has heard it at least once or twice? Okay. So we will not go so much into details, but I think since it's the beginning of this chapter where Dhruva Maharaj is being mentioned, it sounds reasonable that we mention the story, tell the story briefly, and maybe reflect upon it and see how is it relevant for us. Because often we read so many stories from the Bhagavatam, and we like them. We may even have some taste for hearing such nice stories. But unless and until we start to make this wisdom relevant for us in our lives, spiritual practice remains more or less external. And about this point, a lot can be said, but this external practice of spiritual life, most of us here may have not started their devotional life very early age and have started taking the process later on. And then after some time, when we take to this process with great conviction and enthusiasm, we think that now I'm doing everything correctly. Everything should be fine. And then at some point, difficulties come, and we are really confused. Why? I'm doing everything correctly. Why am I suffering still? And that's actually, Prabhupada says, that's actually the meaning of human life, when we start inquiring, why am I suffering? So it's not a bad thing to wonder, why are we suffering? We should wonder whether we are doing everything correctly or not doing everything correctly. So Dhruva Maharaj also got very confused. Why was I put into this situation? So he was very, out of affection and love, he wanted one day in the palace to jump in the lap of his father, Uttampad. And in a playful mood, 5-year-old child jumping to play with his father, and his stepmother, Suruchi, sees this and she becomes very angry, very envious, fearful for her son's position, who was the brother of Dhruva Maharaj. And being angry at him, she screamed at him with very harsh words, piercing harsh words, telling him, you think you can sit on your father's lap, who is sitting on the throne? You can forget about this. You can only do this if you go through the most severe austerities, and only then, so that you can take birth out of my womb. And only then you can imagine to sit in your father's lap. So when Dhruva Maharaj heard this, imagine 5-year-old boy hearing such a harsh words. I mean, how old we are, most of us here are adults, and if we hear such harsh words, it takes us some time to forget them, no? So Dhruva Maharaj looked at his father very, confused, surprised almost, and his father completely ignored him. And that even let this trauma go even deeper. And being hurt with tears in his eyes, he ran to his mother and told her the situation. No, not even he told her the situation. The maid servants told her the situation because he could not even speak, he's crying. And the mother, being Suniti, with her well behavior and wisdom, she told him that she didn't know what to say ultimately. She told him that, your stepmother was not really correct. You should seek shelter of the personality of Godhead. And then, story being really told in short, Dhruva Maharaj told her, where is he? And the mother said, yeah, great sages say he's in the forest, and you should always remember him and meditate on him, and he will answer to your prayers. So Dhruva Maharaj went with this great, with this grief actually, with this great grief and sadness, and he was so determined. This gave him the determination to start looking for the Lord. And of course, Narada Muni, who is the celebrated sage who is always chanting the glories of the Lord and always in connection with the Lord, he heard about this story. He heard about Dhruva Maharaj, and suddenly he appeared before him and told him, "Hey little boy, hey little man, what are you doing here in the forest alone? You're just a 5 years old boy. You should be playing. You should be engaged in running around and playing, and now you come here to the forest. What do you want?" And Dhruva Maharaj said, "I want to perform austerities to meet the Lord, and I want a kingdom greater than my father, greater than my great-grandfather even." Dhruva Maharaj was the son, Uttampad, his father, was the king of the world. And his father was Swayambhuva Manu, the king of the whole universe. And his father was Lord Brahma, the creator of the whole universe. So Dhruva Maharaj was dreaming big. Still, he did not hesitate. He did not, imagine a 5 years old boy, he said, "I want to catch the moon," right? And sometimes they look like they believe it, really. Sometimes we have so crazy ideas, we think we can do it. But Dhruva Maharaj was completely convinced. And he wanted a great kingdom, greater than his father and forefathers. So Narada Muni told him, "You're just a child, you should be engaged in playing, and your mother tells you something harsh words. Why do you take it so personally? Children should not be offended like this. Just forget about it and go on. And then later, when you grow up, you can come to the forest and perform your austerities." Dhruva Maharaj was not convinced. He said, "What you're saying is very nice." Because Narada Muni was preaching all these Brahminical qualities, forgiveness, humility, and happiness and distress are coming upon the order of the Lord, and the happiness and distress are coming according to our karma. Anybody disagrees? So Dhruva Maharaj said, "What you're saying is very nice, but those are words for Brahmanas. I am a Kshatriya. I don't care about all of this. I want to achieve my goal." So Narada Muni said, "Theek hai, no problem. He gave him the process technically, put in short. He gave him the process how he should achieve his goal. He told him, you should meditate on the Lord. He gave him the process of meditation, told him that one can worship the Lord by putting simple matters together. Get some earth, get some water from the forest, make a nice mud murti, a murti made out of earth, and start worshiping him, offering him some flowers, some fruits and vegetables, what you find in the forest. And he instructed him to go to the banks of the Yamuna, to the forest of Madhuvan. So Madhuvan is one of the 12 forests in Vrindavan, and he told him to go bathe in the Kalindi, the waters of the Yamuna. Plus, he told him, you should chant, after purifying yourselves 3 times a day, you should chant the mantra. We can do it together maybe. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Bhagavate Vasudevaya. The tradition we chanted 3 times. So this mantra actually awakens our original consciousness, it is said, when we connect with the Lord Vasudeva. It awakens our original pure consciousness, Vasudeva consciousness, and in that state one can meditate, one can remember the Lord, one can speak of the Lord even. And in any other state, other the pure state of consciousness, we can only speak out of our own impressions. So that's why we pray actually to be an instrument in the hand of the Lord. And we pray that whatever I do is actually in connection with the Lord. And not everything I do is actually I'm doing. We never think that I am the doer. Actually, the moment we start thinking that I am singing, I am doing my seva nicely, washing the pots, giving a lecture, whatever it is, the moment we think that I am doing it, we are in Maya. Because we think I am doing this with my own power, with my own qualification. But what qualification do we have if we don't actually just pray for the mercy of the Lord and to repeat the words of the Acharyas? So again, Dhruva Maharaj was hurt. And due to this hurt, he took this harsh words as, what's the word? A pierce, like a dagger in his heart almost. And this resentment, maybe we can talk a little bit about it before we go on with our story, is something which is compared to an anchor in our spiritual life. So, an anchor, you know, what's an anchor? An anchor of a boat. So, our body is actually like a boat in this world. And the pedal for this boat in the back is being described as kshama, as forgiveness. And the anchor is this resentment. And as long as we hold this resentment, we are just throwing the anchor and meaning we are attached. I don't know how relevant is this for you, but maybe any of you were ever offended by somebody or felt hurt? Anybody? No, nobody. Okay, very good. I'll talk to myself. Yeah. So, you know, if somebody tells you something nice, you would be like maybe flattered a little bit. Next day you forget it. If somebody tells you something harsh, you need sometimes a lifetime to forget. And why is this? Because we are still attached. Our attachment is actually molding our, or how to say that, is giving the is giving us actually, is making us act in a certain way. Let's put it that simple. Our attachments are more or less directing us in certain directions. And due to these attachments, we act in a certain way, we talk to others in a certain way, we behave in a certain way, and we ultimately reciprocate with the Lord in a certain way. So with the Lord, our dealings with God, our dealings with others, with each other, and with our own self are actually very much identified or affected, let's say, by which attachments do we hold. So in this context, the attachment here is this feeling of resentment, this feeling of I have a grudge on somebody, I am angry at somebody, and I want revenge, or I want to hurt him at least 10 times as much as they hurt me. And if we see them being hurt or being put into suffering, we like this. What is this called? This is called envy. So, I forgot where I was going, but anyway, sorry? Yeah. So, Prabhupada is talking about this actually in the 4th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. I think verse number 10. He's talking about this in a purport, that fear is the cause for impersonal relationship. So how is this related? Because out of fear of a person, out of fear of the idea that God is a person, we actually this philosophy, the whole philosophy of impersonalism has generated. And due to our past experience, we have actually this unconscious rejection that God is a person. Due to this experience of being put in this material world and spun around and being hurt and being offended by persons, we start gradually to reject the idea that the absolute truth can be ever a person. Can anybody relate this to our context? Does it make any sense? So we think that a person means faulty. We think a person is somebody who hurts me, who can hurt me, who can make mistakes. So God, he cannot be a person, impossible. How can an all-loving God hurt somebody or, purposefully try to make somebody suffer? God cannot be a sadist, right? He cannot be like this. So that means he's not a person. Because we perceive person again as an imperfect being. So Prabhupada is mentioning this, that out of fear, this impersonalist philosophy, they think that God is ultimately not a person. So we need to work on this. We need actually not to, of course resentment is bad, but it's a thing that we cannot forget actually. Because the more we forget it, the deeper it stays inside. And it is like, again, like a dagger which somebody hurts us, and it is said that harsh words are more piercing in the heart than a real arrow. Because, if you get an arrow after some time, of course now in Kali Yoga nobody gets hit by an arrow, but the idea is one will ultimately heal if he doesn't die. But those harsh words, they don't kill us, and they stay with us much longer time to heal than a real arrow. And again, what is the reason for this, devotees? Is because we are attached to this arrow. We want to keep it inside for the right moment to turn it around and direct it at that person, to hurt that person. Does this sound relevant to anyone? No, right? Because you said nobody was ever offended or hurt. So again, I'm just talking to myself. So whatever is happening within our lives as difficulties, and especially those difficulties coming through people, through persons, we should see them as not only our karma. Actually, we usually say those are the instruments of our karma, which is true. But we should not see these difficulties or these unpleasant encounterments, what's the word? Encountering with others as okay, I'm just suffering due to my karma. But no, this is the mercy of the Lord. It's not so easy to imagine, right? Like, how can unpleasant situation, unpleasant condition, and completely disturbing thing to my body and mind and life, something standing in front of my enjoyment, how can it be the mercy of the Lord? The Lord doesn't want me to be happy? But it is actually. And that's how we should see others in our life actually, as an instrument of the Lord. Because the Lord wants ultimately to bring us closer to Him. Believe it or not. If we have the sincere desire, if we are sincere, then the Lord immediately wants us to bring us closer. And that's what Prabhupada mentioning in the purports later on, that when the Lord saw the sincere desire of Dhruva Maharaj about attaining him, he sent him Narada Muni. Why? Because Narada Muni is connected with is always God conscious, and that means that he is a Trikala Gya. What's a Trikala Gya? Kala, time, and Gya, knower of the 3 times of past, present, and future. And that's the description of an Acharya actually in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. An Acharya is Trikala Gya. So Narada Muni, being this high position, he immediately felt the call for Dhruva Maharaj. And this is the process in our life. We just need to develop that sincere desire to serve the Lord, and the Lord will give us the guidance. We do have to endeavor, but in one sense we don't have to do an extra endeavor above that. Our only endeavor is to get closer to the Lord and to please Him, to please His devotees. And then the Lord will see this and will say, okay, I think if you want to go that far, I should send you a spiritual master. And that's how Narada Muni appeared before him and initiated him in this mantra. Yat tadvidhi pranipatena, that's our process. Pariprashnena sevaya. Pranipatena means to surrender. So that's the process. First we surrender. And then pariprashnena, we inquire inquisitively. And pariprashnena sevaya, we offer service to the spiritual master. And by having this desire to serve the Lord, we go into through this process of surrender and inquiring and serving the spiritual master. And then upadikshyanti te jnanam, those great souls will initiate us in knowledge. The knowledge, all the knowledge comes actually from Guru Parampara, from pleasing the Lord and through pleasing His devotees. So, I would like to do a short, maybe, what do you call it, a sketch maybe, so to represent this small idea. Until then, we can start, afterwards we can take questions, so you can think of your question. So, we talked about, oh, that's even worse. It's okay if I do it like this. Why am I doing this? I think there is a... doing parikram around the... Okay. So, oh, somebody did something similar. So we have two things stressed in our philosophy, right? Which are, you can guess one of them already, humility. Humility. No? What's humility? Vinaya. Vinaya. Vidya, Vinaya, Sampanne. Actually, it's interesting because Vidya, knowledge, and Vinaya are always coming in the scripture together, once Bhaktivinoda Tirtha Swami Maharaj told me. So these are like a compound that cannot be separated from each other when the Lord is saying in the Gita, Vidya, Vinaya, Sampanne. So Vidya, knowledge, and Vinaya, knowledge and humility, they are interconnected, you could say. And, oh, I think I need to check my notes for this one. So compassion would be the other circle. Compassion. Daya. Is it Daya? Yeah. And the one in the middle being the intersection of these two important qualities. Any guess? Anybody would like to guess? We just talked about it last half an hour. Huh? Sorry, I cannot hear. I hear something, but I'm not sure if that... Forgiveness. Kshama. Forgiveness. Which is again like a pedal. What's a pedal? You know, what's a pedal in German? Pedale. Uh-huh. I should have tried to guess.
In diesem Fall heißt es Ruder.
Ruder, genau, Ruder. So, I don't know, should we continue the story of Dhruva Maharaj? Very shortly, when Dhruva Maharaj, I'm going to jump to the end. When Dhruva Maharaj attained this perfection and following the process which Narada Muni gave him, he ultimately saw the Lord. He was meditating on the Lord and suddenly he saw his form. And his form was in detail described to him by Narada Muni before. I think he described to him, just a heads up. If this form of yellow dhoti and yellow garments and the darkish blue skin comes before you with a lotus eye, that's him. That's who you're looking for. That's who we are all looking for. So suddenly he saw the Lord within his heart and he was so shocked, he opened his eyes and he saw the same form in front of him. And he was so overwhelmed with emotions that he immediately offered him obeisances, fell like a rod before him. And in that in that state, he wanted to say something, but how much prayers or poetry you can say at the age of 5? So the Lord, he knew what's within his heart. He touched him with his conch shell, and Dhruva Maharaj could offer these beautiful prayers, which we just read one of them. He gave him the inspiration. Okay, you want to glorify me here? I give you the power to glorify me. And afterwards, Dhruva Maharaj offered the prayers. The Lord told him, I know what you want. He got everything he wants, and he went back home feeling ashamed. And in this context, in this sense, I think it's Vidura who's inquiring from Maitreya Rishi. He saw the Lord. He attained all his goals and his desires. Why is he feeling ashamed? And Maitreya Muni is saying because he was frustrated. He was feeling ashamed of his desires, of his material desires. He felt like going to a king and asking him for a couple of husk rice, some broken rice. And he went back and to stress the attitude of a pure devotee, to one who's pure in heart. He ruled 36,000 years, where everybody felt being taken care of as a father. He was like a father for all the residents on earth. Due to his purity again, due to his pure desire to only satisfy the Lord, which is unfortunately the quality which is missing in today's leaders. And when he went back to the kingdom and Uttampad heard about this, he was celebrating already. He went out and great audience, great welcoming, flowers, kirtans, everything, and he saw his child and was so happy, so overwhelmed, because he was feeling regret the whole time. He was telling in the story, he was telling Narada Muni how he, due to his attachment to his wife, he has pushed away his own son and second wife, who was just 5 years old. And when he saw him, he was ecstatic. And it is said when Dhruva Maharaj arrived into the city, the first thing he did, he went down, offered obeisances to his father, and touched his feet, took the dust of his feet on his head. And when he saw Suruchi, his stepmother, can you guess what did he do? You know now, with all the power he had back then, he took the dust of her feet and put it on his head. Because again, she was like an instrument in the hands of the Lord, who actually gave him this opportunity to see the Lord and to go on with his austerities. And then he saw his mother, and his mother is described like, we do an Abhishek today before 2.5 hours. We did an Abhishek for Lord Nrsingadev with water. And when his mother, Suniti, saw Dhruva Maharaj, she did an Abhishek for him with her tears, out of joy. She could not imagine how can a 5-year-old boy survive 6 months in the forest. So those are some points and reflections on the story of Dhruva Maharaj, who exemplifies actually the attitude of a devotee. The same was when Arjuna was put in a position he needed to kill Ashvatam, right? And Ashvatam he killed children. And Bhima was telling him, kill him, because if you let him survive, he will do it again. And he did. But Draupadi was telling him, no, he's a son of a Brahma, leave him, please forgive him, leave him, let him survive. So Arjuna was put into these two orders, and Krishna is smiling, of course. You know, what else does Krishna do? It just looks at Krishna, and Krishna is smiling. No, you cannot read his spiritual body signs. But Arjuna, due to his purity, he could take the right decision. So, anyway, we will not go into a second story now. Those are some points on this verse or the story of Dhruva Maharaj. If anybody has a question or a comment or a Yes, Shri Mataji, always with a question. We have a mic for you? No. Okay.
Hello? Okay. You said that the guru's definition is Trikalya, was it?
I didn't say a guru, I said an acharya's definition.
Acharya.
Yeah.
It's Trikalya, but we have four. Like we have Kali Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapar Yuga, and...
So it's meant in this sense, it's meant about past, present and future.
Oh, okay.
Three kala. Not Trikalya, Trikala. Kala means time and Tri means three. So Three Kala is the three aspects of time, past, present and future. That's okay? Anything else? Kukula Ranjana Prabhu, welcome.
Hare Krishna, Balarama,
Haribol.
Prabhu. You mentioned that Dhruva Maharaj, he, like first Narada Muni was preaching to him to practice forgiveness, and then actually Dhruva Maharaj said, "No, I'm an Akshatriya." So he actually didn't apply Akshama.
Yeah.
So maybe you can comment why he didn't apply it, and why,
Yeah,
or if like we also shouldn't apply it. Maybe you can
if
talk
Dhruva
about
Maharaj,
it.
yeah, thank you. If Dhruva Maharaj didn't apply forgiveness, you're asking me now, a conditioned soul born in Kali Yoga, to forgive. Why should I apply this kshama if Dhruva Maharaj could not? Anybody can say something? It's a difficult one. Yes, Vishal. For a higher purpose. He wanted to achieve a higher purpose, yeah. But again, Dhruva was not in this state of purity before he actually saw the Lord. So before he saw the Lord, it is indicated here his impure desire. He wanted a kingdom. And later on he got a kingdom, yeah. What is it? The pole star. Actually it's mentioned, it's the words of the Bhagavatam, yeah. That he the Lord told him, okay, you get the pole star where nobody else is residing, and when the whole universe gets annihilated and finishes, this pole star will remain there. So anyway, the question is like, or the answer is, because he was not still on that level. He needed to go through these austerities, pranayam. The first month he took some fruits and berries every 3 days. The second month he took some dry leaves from the ground every 6 days. And the third month he took one sip of water, he took some water every 9 days. And the fourth month he took one breath every 12 days. And then afterwards, the fifth month, 6th month, he mastered his senses, he mastered his breath, control over the prana, that he did not move anymore. He stood on one leg and did this great austerity, this great tapasya. And then afterwards he, because like what's the definition of a black hole, right? When the great mass is put in a very small volume, that's called density. And due to this high density, the whole, how is it described? The breath of the universe was stopped because he controlled the breath. And due to that, the whole universe became heavy. The whole mass of the universe went to that child. And the universal breathing process stopped. Because the universe is also breathing and expanding. So the demigods, they were confused. They went to the Lord immediately, like they do every once in a while when they are in difficulties, and they pray to the Lord, please, like living entities, they are suffocating, they cannot breathe. And he said, yes, this is my Dhruva. Don't worry. I will talk to him. This is my Dhruva just meditating on me, and I think, things went south a little bit, so I'll go talk to him. So, and after he saw him, he realized that he was looking for broken glass, when actually the Lord is more beautiful than diamonds. So I think that would be my very short or long answer, but I think it's because of it's being described that before that point he had certain material desires, and due to impurity it's difficult to practice this forgiveness, because only a pure devotee is completely compassionate toward others. Because why? Because he doesn't see the material covering. He doesn't care if you're a boy or a girl, or what's your nationality, or what's your imperfection. He only sees that you are a spirit soul. That's a pure devotee. And in that state, he went to the person who offended him, his mother, stepmother, and his father, and he was completely unhurt, completely forgiving to them. Yes, Gokul Ranjan.
At the same time, we also see that his desires ultimately led him to get darshan.
Yeah.
If he wouldn't have had this like strong desires, he wouldn't get his darshan.
Yeah. Yeah. Material desires are one motive for approaching the Lord. It's actually one of the most common causes why do we approach the Lord, because we have material desires, and it's intelligent if you know that actually the Supreme Lord, Lord Vishnu or Krishna, he is the one who will certainly fulfill my desire. And due to lack of intelligence, one may approach a demigods or a president or a king or your boss in the job and ask him to fulfill our material desires. But if you have a material desire, you can approach the Lord. And if you are fortunate enough to be initiated in a pure spiritual process, we will be purified. And when we are purified, it's not relevant anymore, right? Whether the material desire be fulfilled or not. It may be fulfilled and help us to practice our spiritual life in a calm state of mind. And maybe the Lord just removes this desire and doesn't fulfill it, and you don't care. Did I answer something? No? Okay, if there is nothing else, Shireen Mataji, yes.
Thank you. Sometimes what happens is you said the most common way to get to the Lord is that through the material desires. And so when...
Wait. Did I say this?
No, like most of us, we get to the Lord in a way like we go to them because we want something in the material world.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
And so because most of us do that, like once we attain those, we kind of stop going to them because, we've reached our desire, which was material. We didn't have any other purpose beyond that. So, and then, because it's material, it's endless, so we keep having more and more material desires. Mm-hmm. So if we keep this cycle going on and on, like we're not really making any real spiritual progress, because, and then I don't know if God judges us for that, oh yeah, she just comes to me for this and this, I don't know how to explain it, but...
Yeah, it's like putting ghee into fire, right? Those are the material desires. And there's this fire in our heart of material desires, which is presented as lust. And trying to foolishly try to satisfy this lust, or not to satisfy it, to bring it down or calm it down or remove it. We think we just put some ghee on it and it will all be fine, and then suddenly more desires are coming and more desires. But it requires certain intelligence to know that actually material desires will not make me happy. It doesn't require much intelligence, right? Because if you think about it, okay, I'm a spirit soul and this is matter, and I'm expecting to put matter on a spirit soul, I will be happy, I will be satisfied. My experience, if we are practicing or chanting the holy name, then the Lord mercifully just purify these desires. And at some point, I felt ashamed that really I wanted to such stupid things to fulfill, and then later on, after 2 years or something, I realized that it was completely irrelevant to, and it would have been completely unfavorable for my spiritual life. So again, if we have the sincerity of actually approaching the Lord, that's all what's required. On the side, there may be material desires we try to fulfill, with our process. I want to chant Hare Krishna every day and pray for the Lord, because I know it's the right thing. But I have certain separate motives, separate goals. It would be nice if you also fulfill them. I mean, I'm chanting for you. I give you something, you give me something. No, makes sense. But actually, if at the point, the turning point, where our spiritual desires exceed the material desires, then it becomes so, all the material desires become gradually or purified in a faster way than before. Before, they are just like impediments. We want the whole world, and maybe a little bit Krishna would be nice, because we know out of morals, out of rationality, it's the right thing to worship the Lord. But by some mercy, and that's what Dhruva Maharaj asked for, what he asked for from the Lord is association with your pure devotee. By some mercy, when we associate with the pure devotee and he gives us the holy name, we become purified from all these material desires. Because why? When we associate with the devotee, with the pure devotee, his desire become one with ours. Yeah? What's that? What do we sing every day? Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chiteti Koriya Aikya. So Guru Mukha Padma. So the consciousness or the desire of the spiritual master, may it become one with my desire. May my consciousness become one with his consciousness. May my desire become one as his. That's what do we pray for. And in the moment your consciousness or my desire becomes one with the desire of this pure devotee, that's the perfection of life. And what is said afterwards, Shri Guru Charane Rati Ese Uttamagati. The perfection of life is attachment to his lotus feet, is the perfection that fulfills all desires. And that attachment, that should be our priority. So that we have the same desire as our gurus and Sri Prabhupada and Guru Parampara, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We only have one desire with the whole Parampara, is to please the Lord and to make everybody please the Lord. Okay, I think it's Sunday, it's 9:01, and it's a good time to honor the Lord in his form of Krishna Prasad. Grantara Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Nitai Gaura Premanande Haribol.